Mashile, Darren,
Che, how are you?
good, how's it?
I'm good, Che.
We are ready. Yeah, we still have got some time. We'll start at 9, yeah?
Yes, Che.
Okay. All systems go, right?
Yeah, all systems go, everything's fine.
Perfect.
Good.
Recording in progress.
Darren, Mashida.
Yes, Chair, good morning.
Okay. I think let's start. Time is 9 o'clock, and let's start. Thank you. Good morning, everybody on the platform, oral members, our support staff. Today we are meeting with the Department of Cooperative Governance. They are going to be briefing us on the 2023 Adjustment Appropriation Bill. Remember, this is a follow-up to the MTBBS statement by the Minister of Finance. One of the bills that he presented on that day was the 2023 Adjustment Appropriation Bill. COGTA is one of those departments which are affected by this bill. As we always do, we have requested them to come and interact with the committee. Let me welcome the Minister of COGTA, Honorable Thembeka Dimeng, and also Deputy Ministers, Honorable Paxtow and Honorable Benz Ngamashe, Director General and the management team. We are all welcome. What we'll do, we'll give you about 45 minutes to make your presentation, and then after that, the oral members will interact with the presentation. But before we do that, let me check with the Secretariat. Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we do have the following apologies. The Deputy Minister, Honorable Paxtow, would be with us in the meeting, but will leave earlier for an official engagement. And the Director General of the department, Mr. B. Changasi, will be, is not in, is busy with an official engagement. From the committee side, we've got apology from Honorable Sarupen, who's off sick, Honorable Pokolo Tobias, as well as Honorable Kwankwa. They are busy with another similar engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mashile. Honorable Minister, the meeting is yours. I'll only you'll only give me the meeting at about quarter to 10 to. Yeah, so you'll decide who says what when. Thank you very much. You are most welcome, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to honorable members, and thank you for accepting our apologies for the DM Tau, who's headed to COP28 on our environmental disaster portfolio management issues, and also DG is busy with the municipal demarcation processes assessment that are also undergoing. Chair, as you have correctly indicated, the briefing really it's a continuation of what was presented to the committee, but subsequently the MTDBS that was delivered by the Finance Minister. In the absence of the DG today, the CFO, Mefunane Matlatsi, will take us through the presentation, Chair. And key to our topical issues of what we would like to raise with the committee is how the adjustment overall comes from a broad perspective, but will also look into the impact that it has into our local government expenditure, but also in terms of our equitable share, in terms of our municipal infrastructure grant, in terms of the programs of what we call municipal support intervention plans, which are attached to some of the financial assistance through aspects and deliverables that the department and provincial departments do to assist municipalities. And we'll also address the issues with regard to disaster expenditure. Chair, it has been your worry and the worries of all honorable members with regard to the response rate and pace of municipalities, the grants that they have relating to climatic change conditions that we are experiencing, particularly the floods that happened in KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Nelson Mandela Bay Port, St. John's, eThekwini, and all the surrounding areas. And also, of course, looking at how are we going to deal with addressing the challenges, and how will we further on capacitate municipalities with regard to the status quo. Chair, with your permission, please allow me to hand over to the CFO, who will take us through the presentation. We'll observe the time, and hopefully with your guidance, Chair, we'll then be able to go towards discussions and recommendations that we're making to the committee as the department. Thank you very much, Chair. May I hand over, with your permission, to the CFO.
Proceed, Minister.
CFO, you can take it through from here.
Thank you very much, Minister. Good morning to yourself. Good morning to the Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Deputy Minister, accounting officers, our colleagues on call. Chair, as Minister has indicated, my name is Funani Matlatsi, CFO of the department, and I'll be taking the members of the Standing Committee on Appropriations on the Adjustment Bill based, Chair, on the guidance as per the letter and our presentation as such. Chair, allow me to cut on my video just to have a clear visibility as well. Chair, as guided, I will request my colleagues to follow my direction in terms of changing the slides. So we'll get to the slide 1. My apologies, Chair. Chair, I think this is the table of content that outlines the discussions for the topics for discussions for today. And I won't dwell on them, given the time that we don't have. I'll ask that we move to the next slide. Chair, I think the purpose of us presenting this overview, Chair, I think we all know that National Treasury has, and throughout our engagements, during the MTEC process, our adjustment process been persistent and insistent, so to say, in the cost-saving drive. And so much that the advice and requests have been made to a number of departments, including Cooperative, in the implementation of the specific cost containment measures, stressing even in this current financial year, as the chair indicated, the adjustment budget. And Chair, I think the issue here, it was strictly to address the existing fiscal challenges that is confronting government and the country in general. And in our own way, this is a sign, Chair, and it was very clear to ourselves that there will be possible cuts that will also be confronting the national department, which is Cooperative at this point. So these measures, Chair, were very deemed necessary by National Treasury, given these unending fiscal pressures. So the affirmation was also made by the Minister of Finance during his budget speech and tabling the medium-term budget policy statement. Next slide. Chair, I think this slide is very clear. It says to us that the department has requested a cabinet memo and following their unavoidable and unforeseen expenditure processes. And I think we received a favorable response through the adjustment budget, wherein the department's request was approved to the value of 1.5. And the 1.1 billion, Chair, was taken away, again, Chair, from the baseline allocation of the department, which is program 2, and 350 was taken away from our CWP program. Now, this amount was split into the National Disaster Center. An amount of 1.1 was allocated to reconstruct and rehabilitate the municipal infrastructure that has been affected by damages, and those provinces are receiving that allocation in this financial year. And an additional 372 million to replenish the response grant. Chair will talk about that as we move along. So we are indicating that this results in our baseline being cut by 1.5 and split technically, Chair, to the fiscus, and then we receive that allocation of 1.5. Chair, one of the other adjustments that affected the department is the declared funds that were unspent from the equitable share, which is the local government. And this was due to a projected bulk cost infrastructure, and that we, as a department, over project, so to say. And we projected, Chair, an amount that was 20.7%. And the National Energy Regulator Authority just approved 18.7% of the projected amount. So there was a excess of 2%, which resulted in the 1.357 billion being an unspent amount. So that money has been taken back to National Treasury, technically so. And then lastly, Chair, we are also requested for a conversion of our MIG to 6B from 5B, from a direct grant to an indirect grant. And 2 municipalities were considered during this financial year for the 6B conversion to happen. So we have 20 million that has been approved for Mfuleni and 10 million for Tugela. So these will be enacted, Chair, as you indicated yourself, and in our bill as well, in our framework as well. So this will be used, Chairperson, when the bill is enacted, if not the gazette is enacted. So these are our movements that have happened during the period of adjustment. And I did speak to the 1.5 billion that we have taken away from all our budget, and then we've received a 1.5 for the disaster recovery grant and the response grant, respectively. We had some environments shifts that we had requested, and these have been approved by National Treasury to cover the areas which were not budgeted for. This would have been like unfunded mandates at the beginning of the financial year. And some of these areas, Chairperson, it is correct, we are not projecting, if not, we are not budgeting for them, those issues of the employee social benefits. So taken away from the goods and services chair. The chair would also recall that we have a development of the Eastern Seaboard project. So money has been taken away from program 2 and given to our municipal infrastructure agent. We have the goods and services funding transferring amount of 700 as well to our leave gratuities. And at the same time, we have also goods and services funding of 383 for international organization, which is a membership fee. Chair, without going to details of this, it's clear that money was taken away from different programs just to accommodate those unfunded mandates. And I spoke of the 2 MIG funds from program 2 as well, split into together, and the undeclared fund is very clear, which I also spoke to earlier. But like I said, Chairperson, this will definitely form the shape after the Division of Revenue Act has been enacted. Chair, I think one of the questions that arose, as members had indicated, was the issue of the rationale for the unallocated. I did indicate, Chair, that our estimation was far beyond the amount that has been approved by NESA. So we had requested 20.7 without repeating myself, only 2% of that money was not approved. So there was that reduction of the budget as well of the 3.5. That budget, Chairperson, as one puts it correctly, it therefore goes back to National Treasury as unspent funds. And we are mindful of the fact that, Chair, at the time of our request, we were looking largely at the increase in the bulk electricity, which again remains unfunded, so to say. And this may have an impact, technically, the fact that the load shedding is also going ahead as planned. The next slide, Chair. The impact of the reduction, Chair, in the algo and in the algos, if one puts it, Chair, from the element of that, we are saying, Chairperson, that while this has an impact from the electricity bulk, Chair, one looks at the global figure, looks at the global picture of the economy, that somehow that issue of the cost containment comes into the fore. And we are mindful of the fact that there are basic services that will also be affected, Chairperson, on the basis of the cut itself. Next slide, Shike. Chair, I think one of the questions again was on the issue of the MIC. Chair, this slide is telling us that provinces where there is a dedicated support, those municipalities are doing very well with regards to the MIG expenditure. And citing those provinces specifically, Chair, and I think it's the green element, says in Mpumalanga, KZN, and Western Cape. Minister has also directed, Chair, during our engagements, that we should be also engaging with those other municipalities, if not the provinces, where support is also needed. And we have started with those engagements on the 17th of November. I think the intention, Chair, here is to enable those municipalities not to lose money to other sector or to the national fiscus, as we know that the stopping and reallocation does happen. The National Treasury is very good in doing that. The next slide speaks to, which will be slide 9, will speak to the number of the 55 underperforming municipalities, Chair, that are largely in the provinces of Eastern Cape, Free State, Limpopo, Northern Cape, as well as Northwest. 27, Chair, of these municipalities, as indicated in the slide, are part of the 66 dysfunctional municipalities, to emphasize, which underscores the problem, Chairperson. Important also to note in this, Chair, is the fact that we have introduced the IUDG grant to support the implementation of the integrated urban development framework, Chair, with the purpose of funding the public investments in infrastructure for the poor and to improve the quality of municipalities as well as the spatial training. There are, Chair, 9 intermediate city municipalities that are participating in this grant, and the total allocation for this financial year It's 1.1 billion, Chairperson. So this slide, Chair, is indicating that we're working closely with MISA on a program to mitigate against the stopping of unspent MIG, hence the request for the conversion of the 6B. And through this, by redirecting the unspent funds towards the refurbishment and repairs in respect of water and sanitation as per the framework of the Municipal Infrastructure Grant. The department is also applying the conversion of the 6B, 5B. I've spoken to that to 6B. This is to ensure that municipalities again finish the long outstanding projects. At the moment, Chair, 2 municipalities have been selected, and it's Uchigela and Mfuleni. And in 2024, Chair, the list will be expanded. So a drive has been run by the Deputy Minister and the Minister in this effect. Slide 11, Chair, is an overview of the state of delivery. The next slide, and the eradication of backlogs by municipalities. MISA plays a very significant role in supporting municipalities to eradicate backlogs and to provide sustainable and quality services, Chairperson, through the technical expertise deployed in municipalities, as well as the direct interventions through infrastructure projects. And then the next slide talks to the resource center that we've established as a department, which is the Results Management Office, that house in various aspects in different fields, with the likes of the DDM, CWP, infrastructure, finance, energy, and governance. Chair, if you look at all these various fields that we are counting, these are the fields that largely affect the local municipality space and the programs that we have in the department. The intention also is to provide an additional layer of support, particularly in those dysfunctional municipalities. We have about 4 in this RMO, and they'll be deployed to the various streams as outlined earlier with those DDA-CWP across the country. And at the same time, we have deployed a number of 500 experts by MISA as deployed in such. The next slide suggests to say that MISA has also established a designed office that seeks to support municipalities to plan and design infrastructure projects, largely to reduce the reliance on consultants and to build their own capacity. And this is currently the case at MISA. And this is being piloted in the OR Tambo district. Slide 14. Chair, I think in this slide it's important to note that while we don't go through it technically, that even though we have that 1.3 that has been declared as savings by National Treasury or as a funding that is going back to National Treasury, the bill itself does not change the initial funding to municipalities. However, we're also saying that this bill does not provide any additional funding to those municipalities that are suffering in financial distress. It has also, it has largely indicated to those areas that we've indicated earlier on. But I must emphasize that the last bullet does indicate that we have supported 22 municipalities to increase revenue as well as decrease the debt that is owed to them. The approach, Chairperson, if we look at it, it's more or less similar to the one that we're saying. It reduces the debt of ESCOM, technically so. Now, there's element of the steps that we need to indicate that we have taken to improve the financial position of the department and to settle their ESCOM debt, Chairperson. The department is assisting with recommendation in this instant or with municipalities that have been approved by National Treasury for the ESCOM-related municipal debt relief on how to can improve their revenue through their budget. So we are making recommendations on how these municipalities can increase their revenue using their budget-related policies, which is an asset to them, and in order to reduce the debt that is owed to them. Data cleaning and arriving at cost-reflective tariffs of water, Chairperson. The next slide, Chair, talks to the general laws. Excuse me, you can move beyond that slide, go to another slide, Shike. And I think the emphasis also is that the intervention is actually through the MC bill that is promoting uniformity in the implementation of the Section 100 and Section 139 of the Constitution. The bill itself, Chairperson, which is the General Law Amendment Bill, it's used to address the policy and legislative gaps within the system as well. And work has already been undertaken, Chairperson, in this instance to introduce the legal certainty in the coalition governance within municipalities. And Chair, if I may indicate, the next slide is relative to the disaster. The department, if not to the center of the disaster management, it administers a number of grants. Among them, it's the Municipal Disaster Response Grant for municipalities as well as for the provinces. And then we have the recovery grants. Chair, I did indicate earlier that we've used the adjustment process to request additional funding in following the unavoidable and unforeseen on the basis of the fact that the money that has been granted by National Treasury was not enough to cover those persistent and long period forcing effects of the grant, and if not the impact of the drought as well as though infrastructure that is badly affected by disasters. So this response with coming with conditions, it's a conditional grant, and its intent, Chair, is to respond directly and put those measures in place to address those effects of the drought itself. And then the slides technically, Chair, if one looks at it, it gives an indication of the amounts that have been allocated in the past 3 years as requested by the committee. From 2021 Municipal Response Grant for the drought and storm Eloise, it was at Limpopo, KZN, Northern Cape, Northwest. An amount that was transferred was 372, and the reported expenditure was 269. And on the matter of the provincial disaster grant for the drought intervention in Western Cape in particular, 48 million was transferred, and the entire amount was spent. In 2022, within the same grants, the floods which appeared in April and December 2022, Eastern Cape and KZN were largely affected. 516 was transferred and only 380 was spent. From the Municipal Recovery Grant, floods of 2021 and 22 again, Chair, 3.3 billion was transferred, Chair. And this was one of the allocation that was also received through the adjustment budget process itself. And then in 2023-24, the current funding of 343 has been transferred to Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, and Northwest. And to date, we are reporting an expenditure of 106 against the 343. The total, if one looks at it, ranges at 4.6 billion with the expenditure of 1.2 billion. Chair, the recovery grant itself tells the shape of 22-23, where the top ones are just to say that 518 was the original budget for this year. We've received that 372 through this adjustment budget process. The final budget to this that will be reported by the end of March 2024 by this department, it's sitting at 890, and as I indicated, 343 of this amount has been transferred to date. Then the one that is below, Chair, is talking about the big budget, which is talking about your relief recovery grants, looking at the infrastructure. The original budget was far less than what we've projected. The plans that we've received, 321.1 billion has been given to us, and the total that shall again be reported by the department again as a final report will be at 1.5 billion. So we have received an increase to that effect. So to date, Chair, we've transferred 56 million of this amount, and 12 of this amount has been expended by municipalities. So we are sitting with a budget of 1.5 to be expended and to be used by municipalities during this period up until day one, and for them reporting by the end of June 2024. So I think we look at the challenges that is expediting the disbursements, and we realize that there's a number of issues that we pick up when the money is being transferred, and for the disasters to be taken care of by municipalities and the provinces. the speed is very slow, and it does appear that we don't see the disaster the same as the people who are affected by the disaster sees it. So we've come up with a number of assessments that we realize that can enhance the speediness in people or in provinces and municipalities managing the grant itself. So, Chair, here, I think we've also realized that the provinces and municipalities are very slow in activating the procurement processes when it comes to disaster. So working with the center itself, the assessment of damages is being carried by MISA and a team of engineers that have been identified. And these assessments, Chairperson, will be reported or are reported as such. And this takes us to the next level of the supply chain, where we're indicating that we are making a strive with National Treasury and AXA to even create a workshop, particularly with the CFOs, or a circular can be issued to give us clear guidelines and processes in compliance to be observed within the supply chain as well, because there are issues that gets picked up. So a compulsory workshop is very necessary to give that kind of a guidance and come up with a activation of the emergency procurement processes. We've realized that there are instabilities in municipalities due to poor governance, and we've come up with the fact that monies could also be transferred to the district municipalities, where these municipalities have the capacity to can handle the additional money that will be transferred to them over and above their money. So we have appointed the implementation, or district municipalities can also be advised to appoint the implementing agent to can manage this with big provinces as well. And MISA is continuing to support the municipalities with the contract management in order to ensure that there's capacity as well. And MISA is also working directly with the center itself in developing those prototypes of organogram for the municipalities to be properly structured. Chair, on this one, I think here we're trying to indicate the provisions of the Act itself, wherein, Chairperson, we are indicating that Minister herself is also given powers by the Act. That suggests to say that the regulations, processes that strengthens the powers, and that suggests to say that where it's possible, Minister can also use the enhanced powers to curb some malpractices in our municipalities. We have made significant interventions that will be in the next slide, Shige, in relation to the professionalization of the municipalities of the local space. Workshops have been conducted, Chair, or are developed for the rollout and the implementation of the regulations. The programs that have been identified as training targets largely mayors, speakers, etc., as indicated in the list, and that has started. And there has been a study, Chairperson, on the root causes of the bloated organogram in municipalities, which was largely conducted, just to list a few out of these, Chairperson. So this strive suggests to say that at the end of the period, together with our strategic partners, including SALGA, National Treasury, and provinces, we will definitely continue to support and roll out the package of intentions, Chair, to strengthen the sector and professionalize the local government space. The next slide, Chair. I think this is where we should be ending, Chair. We are indicating to the committee that this is a brief from the department in as far as the bill is concerned, and the department will always continue to support the committee in their oversight responsibilities. Chair, the next slides are our annexures. We were guided by the request for meeting that we stick to 20 slides, and we felt that there's more information that we could provide to the committee. And as such, we took it away from the initial main slides of the 20, even though we had 23 slides, Chairperson, and the information largely is on those slides that are between the Annexure A and Annexure B. Chair, before I hand over to you, we do have the DDGs in the midst of the call and our chief directors from our policy, and perhaps share with you where I may have missed some pointers and where I may have not touched on everything within the slide. We stand ready, and if there is would want to add on, that will be from the chair's call as well. Chair, thank you very much. This is where we can end, and I'll hand over back to you. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister, Ms. Matlasi, thank you very much for the presentation. I think what we'll do as we ask questions, then you'll be able to call on your colleagues to come in and respond perhaps to some of the things that will be raising those things which may fall within their area of competence. So I think let's do it that way. But thank you very much. Honourable members, you saw the annexures that were also sent to us. Thank you very much. You know how we do it now. Going to the honourable members, please indicate those who would like to engage with the presentation. Honourable members. Okay, it's Honourable Sheikh. Who else?
Kaiso, Chair.
Honourable Kaiso. Honourable members. I'm listening. Okay, let me allow Honourable Sheikh. Let me allow Honourable Sheikh to come in. Honourable Sheikh, please come in.
Chair.
I go. Well, Honourable Sheikh, we can't hear you. Can you please find a better place?
Yes, Chairperson, I've got the load shedding. Can you hear me now?
That's better now.
Yeah. Well, I think my question to Chairperson, I'm also going to be attending the plenary shortly. So my apology there. But I think my question to Kokta is very simple. Given the state in all our local municipalities of coalitions that are failing, resulting in no services being delivered or very little or substandard, and we know the reason for coalitions that are collapsing. It's power and control. And the reason why it's for power and control, to control the resources. And we know that corruption is rife in these local governments, and particularly KwaZulu-Natal, where value for money is not the issue. We're just not getting value for money. Political parties, are sustaining themselves with this monies that they are getting through this unlawful means. They are using this to destabilize the coalitions. They are using this to unseat political parties. And for that reason, you find that the coalitions are not surviving. Now, I have repeatedly requested that we, and I know I got a response the other day also from the minister on a question session, Chairperson, where she says, and correctly so, municipalities are supposed to be advertising, I'm told, on a monthly basis, all the tenders that issued. But finance says, Treasury says it's not being done. Supposed to be done, it's not being done. I'm requesting that it be done so there's a more transparent and credible process. We can find out what is the value of these contracts, who they were given to, who is billing, whether we're getting value for money. I've got a complaint the other day, Chairperson, to say the contracts are being awarded in a particular municipality to only the highest bidders, because that's where they are taking out the monies from. Now, what measures is this department going to put in place? We've been talking, I'm there for 10 years, Chairperson, and I know I sound like a stuck record. What measures can you put in place to ensure that every municipality advertises on a monthly basis all the tenders that were issued, the value, the itemized, the name of the companies, the directors of these companies? It may not be foolproof, but I can tell you it will get rid of 90% of the corruption in these local governments. So please tell us, what can you do? How can you do it? And if I gave you a list of a couple of municipalities that I would love to know since 2021 elections, all the tenders that were awarded, would you be able to provide the Standing Committee on Appropriations with a report on these things? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Sheikh. Honorable Kaiso, please come in.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and members of the committee. Allow me, Chair, to...
Honorable Kaiso?
Yes, Chair.
If possible, can I have your video on?
Yes, Chair, allow me, I mean,
okay, that's fine.
The Bushveld, so... Yes.
Okay.
Chair, I've looked at the presentation. I just want to know or to get some clarity on, I see a number of municipality financial performance of the municipalities and grants, and also there are some monies which are being owed by municipalities in terms of ESCOM, and then and there's an intervention by COCTA in some of these municipalities. But what I want to know, doesn't it Thabo Mofokeng and Matjhabeng falls under the municipalities which also supposed to be, intervened, I mean, to be assisted in terms of, getting out of the problem that they find themselves in? I just want to know whether is there any process that has been set in or no progress, because I can see some other municipalities here, there's been assistance in terms of deployment, of engineers, municipalities which have been identified. I'm not sure what criteria was it used, because if you look at Thabo Mofokeng, you look at your Mongao Metro, you look at Matjhabeng, and you see one would have thought maybe they are also in the same package. So now on the issue of underspending, I'm not sure, Chair, because sometimes there's this word that we use, cut and underspending. Because here where I see there was underspending, and the Treasury took that, is it the money cut, or it's simply the money underspent and shifted to a relevant, activity? So I just want to get that clarity, because where I see underspending, normally I see under-deliver. Where there's underspending, it is equals to under-deliver. So what I'm trying to check, if that money was spent, do we say it's cut? Or do we say simply it was just underspent and therefore redirected to a particular point where it will be needed? Otherwise, it will be the issue of where money was, underspent in terms of certain municipalities, and it got taken back to Treasury. Then it becomes a serious problem, looking at the situation of high service delivery demand, and collapse some of our own municipalities due to lack of spending. Yeah, thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kaiso. Honorable Memezi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I request to put my video off, Chair? I'm in a difficult situation where I am.
Perfect.
With your permission.
Perfect. Continue, Honorable Memezi.
Thank you very much. Chair, I wish to start by appreciating the presentation. I think it does give us some encouragement. Also, when a presenter at least is clear, understand what is presenting, yeah, you get encouraged. We appreciate that, Chairperson. But I also note the areas Sheikh Iman raised, indeed, points that one wanted to touch on. Also, Honorable Kaiso as well. Those are key points. But they are also not making me not to touch on the main standing concerns when it comes to municipality performances. Then my question would be, what are the actions? Because sometimes when things are not going right, there should be actions. We must see consequences for failure to implement the budget, because municipalities, many a time, we are part of those that are sympathetic to them because they are closer to the people. They must answer to the needs of the people. That's the work of the municipality. On daily basis, they do everything. They've got all departments in one small municipality. They must assist people in all respects. But when actually they fail to spend that little budget they have, then to me, that begins to be a big, big problem. So then I want to understand the actions which the department is really planning to take or even strengthen, because there have been indeed some actions, but I think they are not like yielding results. So municipalities are still failing to implement budgets when even though they are working in front of people who are disparate, communities that are disparate, communities that need the municipality assistance. Of course, it's not all municipalities. Some municipalities are doing their bit. There may be one department that is really embarrassing, but yeah, there are some good work as well. There are some good municipalities as well. So I want to understand the actions that are taken, because we must not just say municipalities are failing without doing something. What are the things that the department is doing? That's my question. The second question is related to the same. Many a time, the Auditor General also complains of lack of adherence to compliance. Municipalities failing to comply to the standards, to the norms, to what they are supposed to be following in terms of the processes of doing their work. As a result, they are found to be outside what the Auditor General expect. So what is the department doing? I think training, you never stop training. I think I would indeed want to hear the department speaking on those, because in the end of the day, our people on the ground in all our provinces, we rely on the good work of the municipalities. I always say, sometimes we blame municipalities, but in many instances, we should be appreciating the fact that many municipalities give the services such as water. Many municipalities even give what is given by ESCOM in other municipalities, give electricity. So we must appreciate that the municipalities are doing good work. But even if they are doing good work, we must strengthen them where they are not doing that much. So I think those were the areas, Chairperson, I wanted the department. I'm told the DG is also among the background. So I would want to hear what are the actions, because we must strengthen our municipalities. They are there, closer to our people. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Memezi. Can I check in any other honorable member who would like to come in? Honorable Sheikh, do you have anything which has come up? Would you like to take a second bite? Or Honorable Kaiso?
No, I'm covered so far, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Memezi, you have also exhausted your questions, am I right?
Yes, Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Let me come in and again thank the Minister and the CFO for the presentation. My first question is related to economic growth. Economic growth is the only sustainable solution from the only way we can get away from these cuts and everything that we're talking about is that we should get our economy growing. And as we know that the receiver under-collected because the economy has not performed. So a responsibility of growing the economy. Now, our policy on energy allows municipalities to generate own electricity. Can you share progress with the committee on in this regard? Again, related to the economic activity of municipalities, what do you understand to be the role of COCTA and municipalities in the attainment of ERRP and job creation? Ms. Matlasi, if please you could go back to the 1.357 billion unspent. I missed the story there. Please, if you could just go back to it. Honourable Minister, in your reply to the questions from the MP, you spoke about some timing problems as an explanatory fact as to why some money was not spent. I hope you remember that. Can you please, I missed the gist of it. If you could just go back and repeat that. It was very important for me, but I just want to get the detail again. Next question. Some municipalities are allowed to go out, especially the metros, and raise debt. So my question is, what is the debt stock of the municipalities? From your side, is there any risk of them defaulting? Do we have any unit at COCTA who's focusing on this? Because it does pose a big risk to the country. The municipal recovery grant, there was a budget of 3 billion rand, but only about 400 million rand was spent. I'm not sure whether I got the reasons correctly. Can you please repeat that? Why such a big a variation? Another question. The fact that fiscal years of national and local government are different, does it impact negatively in your planning or the planning of the municipalities? And if yes, exactly how? And my last question will be, solar panels have been identified as one way of solving the electricity shortage problem. However, some municipalities have complained that will take a big chunk of their source of revenue. what is the position of the department as far as this is concerned? I said the last one, but let me add the very last one. The meters, we were told that there have been some resistance of meters being installed. What do you call them? Yeah, these meters of prepaid meters being installed. There have been some resistance, and National Treasury is putting that as a condition of trying to help the indebtedness of the municipalities to ESCOM. What exactly is happening there? Let me take the meeting back to you, Minister. You take those that you want to take, and then you refer to the to your team. Other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, for the questions. I will share, as you correctly indicated, with my team. Chair, I think let me start by the support that we give to municipalities. I think the ones that are stated on the second last slide or so are just a portion of what we are doing. For example, MISA and they may articulate on this, and a program which has not necessarily been stated directly here is also how many and expects that we deploy. Actually, it is stated on slide 34, where we talk about, in addition to what we have placed, 94 expects the department has through MISA deployed. And we also have around 323 across all the 9 provinces. So, Chair, this is in addition of the number that you see on slide 33, which talks directly to experts. We have got programs of young graduates, programs where we also look into recognition of prior learning and strengthening and capacity building in municipalities, which goes into very high numbers, as I've indicated. But it also look into artisans and the development of municipalities for assistance. So, for example, Mangaung may not necessarily be placed here, but is one example where you have got national government having deployed from various managers and directors from human settlement, transport, and whatever. And this is not necessarily what is articulated here. So we have got packages of what we call municipal support improvement plans, where directly they indicate the assistance that we are giving into all municipalities. So it may not necessarily be indicative here, because here we're just looking mostly on municipalities that are either dysfunctional or have demonstrated the high level of weakness with regard to at least putting systems and processes in place for them to be able to carry their fiduciary responsibilities, ultimately being able to deliver their services. And secondly, Chair, the point that you raised, which I think we were trying to make here, was the correlation with regard to instability and disturbance or disruption of service delivery. And this instability is not necessarily only or manifesting itself in coalitions. Where there is instability, there is high chances of a lack of service delivery. Let's take the Tsobotla in its original form after elections year 2021, November, local government elections. There was a majority party that held about 55%, but council was so unstable. They could not even meet, and that led to the Tsobotla being disbanded. Chair, may I request to switch off my video? I'm losing power.
Perfect.
the instability they did indicate to us, even before we looked into a mechanism of how we could assist. We started by supporting, but when council really could not even sit to adopt provincial and national report, then it led to a dissolution. Yes, the municipality was dissolved and they went into elections in the December of 2022, electing a council that is a coalition today and still facing even more instability because it's a combination now of a coalition with own set of challenges, which leads to still no service delivery. So that was the point that I was trying to make, that there is this relationship and a correlation between instability, whether it could be by council, by administration, or both. And in some instances, it leads to a capacity of municipalities and the difficulty of it being assisted, because one, then council does not appoint or takes time to appoint and fill major positions which could be able to assist them in running and delivering services. So one problem will then lead to other problems which necessarily shouldn't be, because the budget is available for them to appoint the technical staff and all that, but there are hindrances in the system that makes them not to ultimately arrive into what they should be doing, mandated by law, so that they should be able to deliver services. And lastly, Chair, at least there's a comment from me, and I will obviously hand over to directors are here, DDGs and from disaster and all that, and they may articulate further on the points that I've raised. Is there a system which we are overhauling, and Director Stolle will come through and look into what are we trying to do as mechanisms for the department to assist not only in the lack of spending, which is general to your MIC and any other grant, but specifically with regard to disaster and recovery grants that are allocated to municipalities. Yesterday, the team, and day before, the national department is in Mukhanyagude doing the assessment ourselves jointly with the municipality to be able to assist them to deal with the issue of prompt response, because a grant you apply for it, which is where the problem, if you look in eThekwini, for example, the floods were in April of the past year. They could only conclude their assessment, of course, then assisted by us. It was major. It amounted to around 700 projects ultimately that were approved, and 1.5 was transferred, 1.5 billion. And if you look at when did the money arrive, you will see that there's almost 8-9 months after the floods had taken place. And the only money they received was 3 months before the end of the financial year. So we've been able, one, to put a compelling case to National Treasury as a department that lack of or no cutting of disaster grants assist municipalities to be able to go and deal with the recovery and assisting the families and the households and businesses and whoever roads that might have been affected because of the floods. And as a result of that, eThekwini has been reallocated that money and programs through MISA, DWS, and every Department of Transport were then assisting from a national point of view, driven to ensure that they utilize the funds accordingly for the disaster. The same will be at Port St. John's and whatever. But the essence here, Chair, is because of the difficulties with regard to planning, assessment, supply chain blockages, then municipalities have the funds but are unable to speedily and promptly spend on them as they should be. And our response will be through MISA to be physically on site. We've got provincial offices which also assist, headed by chief directors. It's a joint collaboration with provinces to ensure that we lift up the municipality depending on the area in which it is struggling on. And in some instances, the CFO has indicated on non-perennial spenders where we have got the Schedule 6B, where as national, we then implement those projects directly ourselves, because if you turn the funds back, yes, the municipality could be disadvantaged, but the worst disadvantaged part is the community that was expecting that service, which is now not going to receive because of whatever reason that the municipality will be struggling to get a point on. Chair, I think these were the key that I wanted to touch on, and I would hand over to the CFO and colleagues to make additions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think on your question on the 1.35 billion, Chair, will be slow on this. I may have ran very fast. I think, Chair, at the beginning of our MTEF last financial year, building towards the allocation for this financial year, was a request to increase the costs or to increase the bulk electricity allocation to...
Ms. Matlatsi?
Yes, sir.
What did you do now? You are no longer distinct as you were at the beginning. Have you changed your spot? Try.
No, Chair.
Okay.
Audible.
Okay, try again. We're struggling to hear you. Okay. Okay, let's go.
Is it better now, Chair?
Yes, it's better.
Is it better, Chair? Okay. Chair, what I'm saying here, I may have ran very fast in explaining the 135. Technically, Chair, as a request, you would send in a request to National Treasury. So at the time of us making a request, we projected an amount of 20.7% to increase the use of the bulk electricity. Now, when the energy regulator approved the tariff increased to electricity, it only approved 18.7%, which was far less than what we had requested National Treasury to provide. Now, between the two amounts, there appears to be a 1.357 billion that was not allocated. It may have been declared by National Treasury as an unspent fund, but technically it's the funds that were not allocated to the department and would not be allocated to the department. So they remain unallocated. Yes, Chair, these funds do have an impact, and I think this can also touch on the honorable member's question. The reduction, technically so, suggests to say that this money, the impact of it will definitely affect the households, and in such that if we look at it, we know that we have those municipalities that do not have enough capacity to can generate their own revenue to perform and improve their funding stream vis-a-vis what National Treasury has allocated them, and to a point where we would also look at those municipalities that can also not meet their financial. So this does have an impact, particularly to those municipalities that don't have that capacity. But if we look at it largely, Chair, with these unending load sheddings, the infrastructure and the electricity infrastructure gets highly affected by this burden of the less capacity of electricity that we have in the country. So, Chair, the impact is very huge, despite the fact that, yes, the National Energy Regulator has approved this, that on its own has an impact, especially for those people that do not have the access to electricity in those municipalities. Chairperson and Chair, as you indicated earlier, and as Mr. Minister cited correctly, we have a number of our DDGs, the acting CEO is here, the DG is here, and they need to take the other questions, Chair, and then we hand back over to you. The disaster DG is also here. We'll take the portion of the reasons why there was largely underspending of the recovery grant. Chairperson, through your permission, I can allow the DDGs to cover. You starting with DDG Duma, through you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Please proceed. DDG, please come in. Ms. Matlas, let's go to the next person. I'm sure the DDG is struggling with connectivity.
I think DDG Duma is struggling. Correct, Chair. Chair, let me allow the other DDGs. We have chief directors from the policy that can also respond, perhaps picking up the issue of the 1.357 and the other issues that have been raised from economic activities and the growth. Chairperson can have Mr. Manike and his team responding. Chair, thank you so much.
Chairperson, may I come in?
Please come in, please come in.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning to committee members, to the ministers and DDGs. My name is Dr. Ella Sitole, responsible for the National Disaster Management Center. Chair, my network is not stable. I'm just afraid that if I put the video, then I'm going to kick out of the meeting. But Chair, just to add what the minister indicated, the minister covered most of the reasons why actually there's been the slow expenditure in relation to the recovery grants. Yes, just to emphasize the point which the minister made in relation to the supply chain processes, which municipalities they were struggling, but also the inadequate technical capacity, which actually the municipality, they were actually struggling to have those kind of capacity on board so that they can speed up the process. But I must indicate, Chair, some of the points the minister has covered. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I check whether all the responses given? Are there any other speaker that's supposed to come from the department?
I think through your permission, we do have the acting CEO who will also add on, and then we have the team from policy led by Mr. Mzelegazi and Dr. Rabotata. They may want to come in. Thank you so much, Chair.
Yes, okay. May they come in? In fact, the chair had given the director to take responsibility of your team of speakers who will be making presentation and response. If you take them by line, then it's fine.
Thank you, Chair. And both of them, their hands are up, Chair. We have the acting CEO and we have DDG Alan Zimbwa.
Yes, may they come in, please?
Thank you. Good morning to you, Chairperson, and good morning to the members. My name is Patrick Homo, and I'm the acting CEO of MISA. And I'll just respond to one of the key questions that I think yourself, Chair, asked what the department is doing to support municipalities to generate their own energy so that we can also contribute towards addressing the problem of load shedding. So what we are currently doing as MISA, through our technical expertise, we supporting some of the municipalities to conduct feasibility studies to establish what alternative sources of energy, renewable energy specifically, are there in the area that can be tapped into so that they can then be able to generate their own energy. And then coupled with that is the energy master plans that should also talk about utilization of renewable energy as an alternative to the normal energy that we use from the grid. and also the development of wheeling frameworks by the municipality. So those are some of the support programs that we are providing to municipalities. It's not many municipalities. We are still just piloting a few, but obviously, as time progresses, we'll be able to roll the support out to other municipalities. There was also a question about the underspending and how we are supporting municipalities to spend. And I think in the presentation by the CFO, she indicated some of the initiatives that we are putting in place to avert the under expenditure. So MISA is closely involved in the planning side of the MIG program at the beginning of the financial year. So we assist municipalities to identify and prioritize the projects to ensure that the projects are properly registered, prepared and registered on the system. And we're also involved in the appraisal process of the MIG programs. And we also go to an extent of assisting municipalities with the development of specifications for the different projects such that they can get reputable and service providers that will be able to deliver those projects within the required scope and within the budget and within the time stipulated. And we then also give that hands-on supporting as far as monitoring the implementation of the project is concerned. So in municipalities where you see expenditure being at a desired or required state, it's the cooperation mainly that we receive from the municipalities where they allow us as MISA to work very closely with them in ensuring that the MIG projects are being delivered effectively and efficiently. Maybe let me pause there and allow my colleague, Mr. Zimba, to also make an input. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Acting CEO. Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning to the honorable members, to the honorable minister, accounting officers and colleagues. Chair, I will only respond to one question. The acting CEO has dealt with the others, and with your permission, Honorable Chair, let me just stop my video. It's already signaling that my network is unstable. I will respond the one from Honorable Taiso, where he was asking whether support is also provided to Thabo Bofutshane district municipality. Indeed, Honorable Member, we provide support to the district. But I want to also bring to your attention that the support that we provide to all the municipalities in the country is also commensurate with the municipalities' support requirements. As you are aware, we prepared a State of Local Government report that was considered by Cabinet in 2021. We reviewed it a year later. The district in particular, it was not one of the dysfunctional municipalities. Therefore, the support that we provide, it's not as intense as the one that we provide to those municipalities that were deemed dysfunctional. That's the first thing. But secondly, all municipalities in the country, we do support them in terms of Section 154, where all the provincial and national departments are required to do so. And at the district, they are responsible for planning, and we do support in terms of the planning in the whole jurisdiction of the district. But the targeted support within the district, we provide to its 6 municipalities, and this is also in line with their powers and functions. The municipalities, the local municipalities, they receive the municipal infrastructure grant because they are water services authorities, and we do provide hands-on support to the municipalities, Hlakeng, Maluta, Pofong, Pumelela, Matsopa, Yetwana, Sitsoto. We do provide hands-on support, and the support that we provide, it's also in terms of the district development model. In other words, it covers the whole of the district that you have inquired on. Thank you very much, Chair.
Chair, if I may come in, I'm Silikas Manike. Unfortunately, I'm in load shedding, so
Yes.
I'll have problems with the video. To touch on some of the issues which honorable members have raised, there was also the issue of relating to tenders which Honorable Sheikh raised as to whether there can be advertisement or publishing of the information. The relevant authority to deal with those issues, it will be the National Treasury, because the issues around supply chain management are regulated in terms of the Municipal Finance Management Act. So that is the domain of the National Treasury. So probably at some stages when the committee engages with the National Treasury, it can try to get its thinking along the possibilities of those issues, because even the related regulations and guidelines on supply chain management issues, those are the domain of the National Treasury. Now, the other issue which has been raised as well is the issue of whether the department does have a unit dedicated to looking at monitoring whether municipalities can default on their debts, given the number of things. We don't have a dedicated unit to respond directly to that particular question. And I'm also not so sure whether National Treasury itself does have a dedicated focus on that particular pointed question. Now, the other question which was, or comment which was made, is in relation to the issue of whether the differences in municipal fiscal years, that is the national and provincial being on starting on the 1st of April and municipalities starting on the 1st of July, has got a bearing on some of the issues, including on planning. Unless if my colleagues on the infrastructure part of it, they foresee a problem. But in general, both National Treasury and ourselves, when this issue is raised, we think the current arrangement is better. If we were to make the financial year to start at the same time, there will be no lead time for municipalities to take into account that which shall have come through the national budget in terms of their planning. So the 3-year month delay in between assists municipalities to see those allocations in order when they deal with their planning and also their community participation from the period April running all the way up to the end of June before they pass their budgets and IDPs, to be in a position to thoroughly take those issues into account. But as I'm saying, we are not aware if they are pointed issues. From time to time, people raise it, but we haven't seen something tangible which necessitates that if a change is to be made, it will benefit the system at the moment. Now, the other issue which was also raised, it relates to municipalities' contributions or role in economic growth, although my colleagues who deal with that certain aspects of local economic development are not here. But broadly speaking, how we see municipalities contributing, there are a number of ways into this. For example, if you look at the whole entire system, as to, for example, impact on ratepayers. Some of the things is, for example, if you look as to how municipalities set their raise tariffs, for example, with respect to taxes, including the municipal property rates, as well as to whether the tariffs for user service charges are high, which start being prohibitive for people to regard South Africa or certain jurisdictions as being of interest for them to locate there or to expand their operations. So some of those things as part of our monitoring and support role regarding our functional areas, for example, on the municipal property rates, we look at those particular issues, and to an extent where we see that there are increases which don't make sense, we raise those particular issues with municipalities. So those are some of the things broadly which we look at. But again, if you look at the infrastructure part of it, which the colleagues were dealing with, if you talk about municipalities' contribution issues like municipal roads, their maintenance, as well as those related issues, those also have a bearing. And as part of what the relevant colleagues dealing with infrastructure-related issues, including the support, when those issues are dealt with, so broadly as a package, all of them, they also contribute. But the other thing is to what extent the alignment of what municipalities themselves wants to do in terms of the plans to assist in development of their areas. They take into account what is happening at the national and provincial. Those things also do have a contributions, but like I said, my specific colleagues who deal with those are not there. But what I'm saying broadly is that there are a number of elements which one has to look at. And some of those elements we deal with them, but all of them collectively start addressing that particular matter. On the issues of prepaid meter installations, yes, is one of the conditions which the National Treasury has put for the municipal debt relief program. And at this moment, we do not have information as to whether well, it may be early, those municipalities which have been approved to benefit to that, to what extent they are going in that direction. Well, the MFMA put a requirement, the particular sector is circular, MFMA circular 124, which deals with that on the provincial treasuries by way of their certificates of compliance to look as to how municipalities are doing in terms of meeting those conditions, which are part of that circular. And so it may be that it may be early at this particular moment as to whether there is movement at that particular moment. But frankly, like I said, we have not seen that information at this moment. So those are some of the things which I wanted to contribute to in terms of some of the comments which have been made. Thanks.
Chairperson, I see there's a follow-up through you, Chair, from before we come in. Apologies, Chair.
Okay, do you still have somebody to come from your side, CFO?
Yeah, I wanted to indicate that we do have a chat that Mr. DDG will post in the chat box because he's also struggling with network. I hope I'm also visible. And I think there was a report that has been requested by Honorable Member of all the tenders that have been advertised. I'm sure we can provide that report to the committee chairperson. However, DDG will post that response relative to the correlation between the underspending and the under-delivery. Chairperson, thank you very much.
Okay. Did you we were able to share the debt stock that I asked about? You remember the question related to the debt that the municipalities have and so on? CFO, I said, what is debt stock of the municipalities? You remember the municipalities can go to the markets and especially the metros go to the market and raise debt. So there's a question that I asked where I was saying that any risk of what is the quantum of that, any risk of defaulting? Do we have a unit at COCTA which looks at that, because it is a big risk to the sovereign?
I think we referred back to Ndate Mzilikazi, and I think there was a touch base of the unit that he spoke to. Ndate Mzilikazi, may I ask you through the chair to expand, if not elaborate, on your response?
Please.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I said on that, we are currently not focusing on that. We don't have a dedicated unit at DCOC looking at that stock. And I also said that I'm not aware at the moment whether the National Treasury is also in that space in a dedicated manner. But at DCOC, we are not definitely at the moment.
Okay, sorry. I once lost connectivity, so I'm sure it was during that time. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you agree with me that it's a very big risk to the municipalities themselves, but even to the country. For whatever it's worth, for me, I think it's an area that you would also like to look at, right? Because you are also looking, generally speaking, at the sustainability of the municipalities. Thanks, Mr. Mzilikazi. Honorable Minister, do you want to have a parting shot from your side?
Just before that, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Paiso, please come in.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chair, to come back at a very late stage.
No problem.
Yes. There's one thing that we've from time to time been getting, which is referred to as a lack of capacity in most instances, especially looking at what the report or the presentation has put forward and the intervention that has been put forward, and of which we applaud the ministry for having intervened to that extent. But what I also perhaps would be important is to this intervention, more especially because we know some municipalities are very fond of deployment of consultants, and so is there any plan that seek to clean this practice of deploying consultancy? At the same time, we pay for people who have been employed to do exactly what the consultant is doing. Is there any measure that we perhaps seek to address this in the long term? And now these deployments in these struggling municipalities that the presentation has highlighted, is it something that is going to live out and now helpful infrastructure moving forward after recalling those deployed, officials, expertise from various municipalities which have been enumerated or been highlighted, or it's just going to be assistance and then leave? I just wanted to get that clarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Paiso. CFO.
Thank you so much. I think for a better view on this point, I will request the Commissioner And if not, Alan from MISA to can elaborate much on this one. Thank you for your indulgence.
Please.
Chair, I also had a bit of a challenge hearing the follow-up question from the member, but if my colleague Alan, yes, thanks, thank you, Minister.
Okay, Honorable Chair, sorry to do that to you. I can help. I think my network got a bit stronger after I've switched off my camera.
Thanks.
So I could hear properly. And I did get the follow-up question. And thank you, Honorable Member, for the follow-up question. Chair, there are two key areas that municipalities tend to use consultants. One is financial areas, what we usually call PTO's office, Budget and Treasury Office, where your supply chain, your planning, your expenditure financially is housed, and subsequently outsourcing even the a compilation of annual financial statements. And you may recall the report of the Auditor General with regard at least to the assessment of the PTO offices in the entire 257 municipalities. And secondly, the area, because of what the municipalities are supposed to be doing, driven by the provision of basic services, will be what we call the engineering or infrastructure units, depending on how municipalities call them. So where you have a director technical or director infrastructure development or implementation, where we do the planning and the rollout of projects, that's where we seem to be having quite a lot of consultants, either planning or designing or on behalf of municipalities. Now, the approach that we are using, one, MISA, for example, what were the key areas where in infrastructure municipalities struggle to do? We partnered with the University of Cape Town. We developed joint cost guidelines for municipalities for them to be able just to understand that when you scope work, this is what you need to look at and this is how you need to do it, with an intention of developing internal capacity. So we then assessed all the municipalities with regard to the areas where they're utilizing. Do they have warm bodies? Are they paying the salaries of a warm body versus a consultant? So we then had a deployment strategy, which is based on pairing and holding hand by hand. And in some instances, part of the reasoning why some of the funds were not rolled out or rolled over to municipalities in their application process now, jointly with National Treasury, we agreed where there's no CFO and there's no municipal manager, we'll have a problem with rolling over the funds. It's either we take them through Schedule 6B, we implement as a province or as national that project, but mandate that municipality under timelines to fill their positions so that we hand over to appointed people. And this is the strategy. Where we've deployed, we get the staff of the municipality, hold them by the hand, develop the systems together, workshop to one another, and subsequently will then pull out. We don't pull out leaving a vacuum. We must also appreciate, Chair, there are challenges with regard to the turnover, particularly at Section 56 and 57. For example, generally, a municipal manager in a municipality stays roughly about 36 months. So after 3 years, they start to apply and they move from one municipality to another. And that, and the same with directors. If you look into the regulation that we've issued now, we're trying to encourage for either the filling of positions at the permanent basis or not linked to the term of council, but rather when you start your term, you need to know that it's a 5-year contract. Even when council appoints now, which is almost 2 years, likely they will give a contract of 3 years because they align it to the term of council, but rather it should be a 5-year contract to a bearer or a candidate, obviously with measures and assessment. We've also, under the unit of policy and governance, did a prototype of what a municipal organogram should look like. And we're applying that prototype in 105 municipalities. And what is the prototype indication gave us? It said to us, you have got MM Nkadimeng in this municipality. You may need to capacitate him in this area and that area and that area for him to be able to perform his functions. What is the battery of this assessment? We developed the competency framework. Currently, we are saying you're right before, but there are incumbents who are already in some of these positions. And that's where retraining and the placement of these experts come into mind and we ensure that we transfer the skill. It's still really the 105. It has just been applied to them, the assessment trickling in. But we hope that when we pull out, even under Section 154 or 139, we don't leave a municipality that is likely to be worse off as the experts and whoever would have deployed leave the space and the vacuum exists. So we encourage council also to take the responsibility of oversight and ensuring that they develop the capacity of their own staff members to be able to do that. And then MISA, through their program, which we have articulated on, then also look into areas where we have got project managers to oversee and educate the internal staff. We have allocated one per every province. Yes, it's not sufficient. It actually bends the project manager out because he tries on the identified municipality. For example, in Free State and Northwest and KwaZulu-Natal, is quite a number of municipalities that are in between the medium and the risk, which we don't want them to fall to dysfunctional, but we've got to make sure that we assist them on how they spend and how do they project manage the same. So if you look, every province has received a project manager with an assistant, a chief engineer, a civil engineers, about 39 in total. And if you look, quite a number has been given to Northern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, with Free State and Northwest in that order, then Limpopo and in that mix. So what are we doing here? These are experts which are working on site in municipalities together with the districts as the centers of excellence through DTM, but also adopting local municipalities so that they are able to spend. There are signs, Chair, we may talk about them some other time. Northern Cape is struggling in quite a number of municipalities now. In fact, them and KZN and Limpopo are the highest number, of course, with Eastern Cape, where we've deployed civil engineers to ensure that we assist with the pushing of the projects, particularly at the planning level and for their implementation. Thank you very much, Chair. I think that was the response to the additional follow-up question. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, thank you so much for engaging with the committee and the comprehensive responses that you have given to us. Obviously, as we can all see, there's still a lot of work to be done, but we are seeing that the department it's not just folding its arms; it's out there trying to assist a very difficult sphere of government. And unfortunately, if things don't work here, there's no place called province or national. Everything must happen at a particular locality, municipality, and so on and so forth. So most of the plans that we are having as government, they can only materialize if our local government, our municipalities are functional. So hence our interest, Honourable Minister, in your department. And perhaps as a part course from us, where we started, that the problems of the country, of the fiscus of the economy, of the revenues can only be solved if we're having an economy which is growing and growing at a faster rate. So we, from our side, would then be saying that, Minister, please, on that area, the contribution of the municipalities in enhancing the implementation of ERRP, it's very important for us to get out of this economic quagmire we're in. We definitely need them to also play the ball. We do understand the difficulties which are there, and as in appropriations, as you can see, that we are busy dealing with the budget, as it were, now, and the movements of funds. We would like to be supportive of the initiatives that you are embarking on. But again, thank you very much for the presentation. To you and CFO, Ms. Matlatsi, and the team, thank you very much. This takes care of this agenda item, and you may remain on the platform if in Funuguzwa sikhuluma ngani, but you are excused. I guess you have got a lot of work to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the COCTA team, we appreciate the engagement opportunity given to us, and will periodically be available for any updates that the committee may need in future. We request to be excused, Chair. You are correct. Quite a number of pressing measures that we have to attend to. But thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity granted. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. You are excused, the Minister and the team. Honourable members, I want us to go to the next agenda item. Uhambo yapi, Honourable Ms. Uhambo yapi? You know what we'll do? I want us to jump to the announcements. What are the announcements? We'll deal with the minutes in our next meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. We've received an apology from the Honorable Mtangwini. She's attending a plenary at the moment, so she's not with us. We received a late apology. The next meeting will be next week, Tuesday, on the 28th. We will be having two sessions. We are going to meet with the Department of Water and Sanitation in the morning, together with the Department of Human Settlement, and later in the afternoon, we are going to be meeting with the Department of Health to receive a briefing on the adjustment appropriations bill. Thank you, Chair.
So we're meeting three departments on Tuesday.
We are meeting three departments on Tuesday, two sessions, the one in the morning and the one in the afternoon. The morning session will have two departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mashile. All members, thank you very much. This takes us to the end of this meeting. The meeting is adjourned, and until Tuesday when we meet. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.